Hey, it's Mo Egger. There's no better place to hang out during the summertime than any one of the 3 Long Necks locations in northern Kentucky. Wilder, Hebron, and Richwood, an awesome outdoor patio, a great menu, northern Kentucky's best wings, and an amazing beer selection. But have you ever thought about how cool it would be to have a Long Necks in your neighborhood? Well, your chance is here. Check out the franchise opportunities at longnecksportsgrillfranchise.com. Longnecksportsgrillfranchise.com. Long Neck Sports Grill. Stay long. Come often. It's Wednesday, which means we talk injuries, mainly NFL injuries, with one of the experts from OrthoCincy. The great thing about OrthoCincy is they have specialists and locations across the tri-state, and they offer walk-in orthopedic urgent care weekdays from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturdays 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Learn more at OrthoCincy.com. That's OrthoCincy.com. Dr. Fritch, let me start with Trey Hendrickson. So he suffered what they call a stinger on Sunday, and he's walking off the field on his own power, but he had this facial expression that looked like a half cry and a half guy in agony. He looked like he was in some pain. After the game, it's reported his arm is in a sling. He is back, and he's at least doing some practice work, which is a good thing. But let's start with this. What's a neck stinger?
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching the same thing myself, and the look on his face made me a little worried. But after they said it was a stinger, a little more reassuring. So stingers are pretty common injuries in football, usually a direct blow to the shoulder. It's a stretch injury to the nerves as they exit your neck and go into your arm. And they cause sort of this temporary numbness, tingling, burning, stinging. That's why we call it a stinger. Usually resolves after a few minutes, but it can last a little longer sometimes. And so, fortunately, if that's what he was dealing with, we should hopefully see him back in play here soon.
Are there different levels or grades of stingers?
Not that I'm aware of. We don't have any particular grading process. It's just in the vast majority of them do resolve quickly, but certain ones we've seen where they can have some residual symptoms for a few days and can take a little longer to resolve, particularly with the weakness. And with these types of injuries, usually with a high-level athlete like Trey, we don't want him back playing until he's back to normal, and so it may just take him a little while.
Are there ever instances where a stinger turns into something maybe a little bit more severe?
Not that I've personally encountered, but certainly anytime you're dealing with the neck, you'll worry, hey, is this a more serious injury? Is this a contusion to the spinal cord? Is this a contusion to the brachial plexus, which is the network of nerves that go into your arm? Is this a disc herniation in the neck? Those would be things to look into if he doesn't resolve. But based on what I've heard so far, sounds like a stinger.
All right, now one more as it relates to this. Why would his arm be in a sling if he's dealing with a neck injury?
Yeah, and so initially when you first have a stinger, those nerves aren't working right as they're going into your hand, and it can cause some weakness so that you're not able to hold your arm up even. And so my guess is they put them into a sling for comfort purposes, because when you can't hold your arm up because of weakness, it's kind of uncomfortable to just kind of drag along with you. So they may have just put him in a sling temporarily until his arm woke back up.
There was a scary injury in the game involving Denver and the New York Jets. Broncos running back Tyler Badie gets tackled, fumbles the football. That's neither here nor there. And he leaves the field under his own power, and then he falls down on the sideline. He collapses. Had full movement of his extremities, but he's taken off the field on a stretcher. There was no official diagnosis immediately after the game. Walk me through the range of possibilities that we're dealing with here when it comes to an injury that initially he could walk off the field on his own power through, and then ultimately had him coming off on a stretcher.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to have to speculate a little bit here. The fact that he was moving his arms and legs is reassuring that hopefully no spinal cord injury. Obviously, that's a devastating thing, and we want to be sure he's not dealing with that. But, I mean, in the wide range of things that could have happened to him, he could have had a bad contusion to the back or a big bruise, essentially. Could have had a back fracture. I certainly hope not, but based on his position and things going on, it's a possibility. Could have had a disc herniation causing pain or even a nerve injury. Other things, his internal organs could have had some issues of bruises. I mean, he could have had an injury to his kidney or something else. And so something that the medical staff will have to take a look at. Could require further lab testing, imaging to rule a few things out.
One more to ask you about Rashee Rice of the Kansas City Chiefs. A tough injury for him and a tough injury for that football team. So he was carted off the field in Kansas City's win over the L.A. Chargers, and the fear was immediately after the game that he has suffered a season-ending ACL tear. It was reported on Monday that maybe the injury is not quite as severe as everybody originally feared, but obviously he is still expected to miss an extended period of time. ACL tear seems to me to be pretty cut and dry, so why is there uncertainty here?
Yeah, it was a little unusual in his particular case, especially after seeing the footage. Certainly an injury worrisome for an ACL tear. Usually, so ACL tears are definitively diagnosed on MRI. My guess is he got an initial examination. After an ACL tear, you can feel a little extra play or looseness in the knee. But that exam isn't always 100% conclusive, and so we get the MRI to kind of confirm that the ACL is torn or if there's another injury going on.
So could the delay in figuring out specifically what the injury is impact the treatment and what's next?
Certainly, but I think they should have definitive answers within the scope of a few days. And so once he does get an MRI and enough people have sort of taken a look at it and offered their opinion, I think they should hopefully have a great idea from the MRI itself. Hey, is this an ACL tear or not? Usually you can see on the MRI directly if those fibers are stretched out of the ligament or if they're torn. Also, with an actual ACL tear, there's usually associated injury patterns on the imaging findings. So you'll see other subtle hints that the ACL is torn, like a particular bone bruising pattern that can clue you in. If that's not present, then maybe they can rehab them a little sooner if they're assuming it's an ACL sprain.
Makes sense. Awesome insight as always, Dr. John Fritch, OrthoCincy. I appreciate the time, man. Thank you so much as always.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Mo.
Anytime. Thank you, Dr. John Fritch from OrthoCincy. They are awesome. You know, I took my about a year ago, my daughter broke her foot. Instantly just took her to OrthoCincy. We went to the Anderson location because they have evening hours, and they took great care of her. Dr. John Fritch, specialist locations all across the tri-state. Walk-in orthopedic urgent care. Weekdays 9 to 9, 9A to 9P. Saturdays 9A to 1P. In both Edgewood and Anderson, it is easier than going to an ER, and it's cheaper than going to an ER as well. Whenever you have an urgent orthopedic injury, just go to OrthoCincy.com. That's OrthoCincy.com. Hey, it's Mo Egger. Summertime means warm nights on the outdoor patio at Long Neck Sports Grill. They've got 4K TVs outside, so you don't have to miss a game. Awesome wings, Northern Kentucky's best beer selection, great service, 3 terrific locations in Northern Kentucky, and maybe you could have a Long Necks in your neighborhood. Your chance is here. Go to longnecksportsgrillfranchise.com. That's longnecksportsgrillfranchise.com. Long Neck Sports Grill. Stay long. Come often.